Hi, welcome back out to the channel. My name's Kim, East Asian medical provider, Taoist practitioner. I'm going to talk to you this year a lot about the energetics of 2025 from a Taoist perspective. What is so important about 2025? This is the year of the wood snake. The energy this year is really powerful. It's not going to come around for another 81 years. This energy, it's about inner spiritual or inner enlightenment, and it's about rapid change. So here's the thing. Nothing about this year is going to be stable, not from a geopolitical perspective and not from your own internal perspective. So get ready for a wild ride. And then the biggest focus this year is going to be on relationships and figuring out those things that are causing you a hiccup in your relationship. This is the year that if there's something that's not working in your relationships, you can really put the effort in and change that. When I say I'm going to talk to you from a Taoist perspective, I am going to talk to you about the energetics that's going to be expressed in each of the months and what to think about as you're facing that energetics. One of the things that's different in astrology from an East to West perspective is in the East, they're using astrology to help you understand the dynamics that's going on around you so that you can accommodate those dynamics and make them work for you. In the West, they use astrology as very predictive. So here's the difference. In the East, you actually have control over your destiny. And there is free will and there is predetermined destiny. And maybe we can talk about that at a different time, but you have the free will to respond to the energetics in any way. Now, if you know what the energetics is before it gets here, you can prepare for that so that you don't get thrown off track. So we started 2025 at the end of January. And the month of February was a really interesting month. Most of you probably felt it. A lot of pressure, a lot of confusion, almost feeling as if you were in the worst cabin fever ever. So the worst cabin fever ever. You might be experiencing depression. And we can say that's part of the geopolitical atmosphere of today. And that allows you to ignore what's really happening inside of you. You know how it goes where you know you're supposed to do something, but you don't feel like it, so you blow it off. And then the next time, the push just gets stronger and stronger and stronger until it almost brings you to your knees. And you're like, okay, I give up. I will accommodate you. That's kind of what this year is about as you work through your relationships. If you haven't been working through something and you're going to continue to ignore it, it could be pretty dramatic. It could be some really big life changes. Whew, that was a huge conversation. So February was this huge emotional pressure. March, if you went through February and you started seeing some of the things that you want to work on this year, March is a great month because that's going to be the month for you to really turn inwards and really start working through whatever it is that you want to work on. By the way, the live Health Hub session and Q&A for the month of April is going to be about the energetics for the next 10 months so that you can start to plan how you're going to navigate through the remainder of this year. And being that it's a live Q&A, you can actually ask questions about your own situation. There is going to be a link in the video description below. I want to talk about comfort zones. And before I get started on that, I really want to validate something because comfort zones feel safe for a reason. They're like our emotional sweatpants. They're cozy, they're familiar, and they're super low pressure. So there's nothing wrong with that. We all need those safe spaces, but here's the thing. Growth rarely happens in comfort zones. So if you're feeling stuck, it might be because you've outgrown your emotional sweatpants. and you're still wearing them. And we all know how uncomfortable that is for everybody else, but you're still wearing them because they're comfortable. What is a comfort zone? Well, a comfort zone is where things feel comfortable. They're predictable, they're manageable. You know what to expect, and you're not going to be overwhelmed or challenged by what's happening around you. And comfort zones are not just about physical spaces, they're about your habits, your relationships, your thought patterns, even the stories that you tell yourself, and what you say you're capable of. And that's the thing about this year. We want to start hearing the stories that we're telling ourselves, and we want to start hearing the limitations that we've placed on ourselves, because this is the year that you can change that. Have you ever wondered why we cling to comfort zones? There's a lot of reasons. I'm going to give you 3. And the first one is the fear of the unknown. We don't like going into the unknown. We don't like being uncomfortable. And think about having to go out and meet new people. That it does not sound comfortable. So we might avoid that. How about fear of failure? I don't know about you, but I was raised a perfectionist. Ugh, how horrible is that? But perfectionists have this horrible fear of failure and fear of being judged. And that was the largest roadblock for me trying new things. It really took me a long time to realize that my fear of failure meant that I was never going to experience success also, which meant I was never going to experience growth. And I was never going to have a different life. There's the last one that I want to suggest too is emotional inertia, because change takes energy. And I don't know about you, but sometimes at the end of the week, I am exhausted. And if I've been binge watching something on Netflix or Apple or Paramount, it's a whole heck of a lot easier to scroll through one episode after another, especially if I have 3 seasons. I can make it through the whole weekend. It's much easier to do that if you don't have energy. What are the risks of staying in your comfort zone? The first is probably going to be stagnation, because when you avoid discomfort, you also avoid growth. And here's the problem. What that can do to you over time is you can feel like your life is unfulfilled, that you're bored, and you can even become resentful of other people or of yourself. There's another risk of staying in your comfort zone, and that's going to be like missed opportunities. Life is full of possibilities, and if you're not willing to take the risk to seize an opportunity, well, staying comfortable might mean that you're going to miss out on that key relationship that you're looking for, or those key experiences that you needed to get that thing that you really wanted in life. There's one last thing that can happen with staying in your comfort zone, and that can be that you start losing your self-trust, because every time that you refuse to step out of your comfort zone, you're sending yourself this subtle message of, I can't handle this. Well, over time, that's going to erode your confidence. You might not be conscious of this, but it's going to erode your confidence, and it's going to be harder and harder for you to take risks. How do you start stepping outside of your comfort zone? Well, I'm going to give you some ideas. Now, this whole concept of comfort zone is a very kidney channel type of energy, because it's about our self-identity and how comfortable we are interacting with the world. So here's my ideas on what you could do to start stepping outside your comfort zone. And the first thing is start small. Don't quit your job or move across country. Do something really small and tiny, something that's manageable, like trying a new hobby or having an honest conversation. Saying with empathy what you really feel. That's a tough one, right? Another thing that you can do is when you start feeling uncomfortable, you can see it instead of something that you're trying to avoid, you see it as something that you're kind of growing into. So think of that kind of like a muscle that you're stretching. So for the first few dozen times, it's probably going to feel tight, but over time, that muscle is going to become more flexible and it's going to become much easier to do this. The other thing that you might want to try is to get curious about fear. And the thing about fear and comfort zones is they have boundaries. They have such defined boundaries. And the minute you step outside of them, you're going to feel this internal resistance to back up. So when you feel that internal resistance, ask yourself, what is this fear about? Because often what you're fearing, it's so much worse than reality. At least I've always found for myself that whatever I was afraid of, it was so much worse in my head than what the reality is. And then the last thing to do is every time that you are able to make a small step or to reframe the discussion or to ask a question of curiosity, celebrate that. Celebrate it. Go get yourself a pie if you have to, because that's going to do two things. One, it's going to tell you that you can handle it. And two, it's going to start telling you that you're valuable. Okay, here's the wrap up. Stepping outside your comfort zone doesn't mean abandoning your self-care or pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion. Think of it like this. Your comfort zone is your home base, but you don't have to live there 24/7. You can come back to it and recharge whenever you need to. Just don't let it become your prison. Okay, until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.